Good morning. Now this is another video, this time going to be a lot different than the one you've just seen previously. If you could do me a favour though, just before you get going and before we get delving into this particular video I'm doing and providing, can you do me a quick favour? Just a quick favour beforehand. Smash them. It helps. And if you can, share it with others. It's always good to get the word out that there are people providing up-to-date stuff on the web for your benefit and for your entertainment. So hit them and we'll get going. Right, on to the subject of this. Now I've done one that you may find down below. And that was to do with the lionesses. This one in particular is still football related, but I'm going back to my theme. If you were a Geordie supporter, this one is going to be, and wait until my camera decides it wants to play silly buggers. This one will be of benefit to you. There have been, this transfer window in the summer for the Premier League has been completely, you've thrown up shocks, surprises. People that you hadn't heard of were going to clubs that you went, well, I'm damn sure they wouldn't do that. But they have. Players getting promotions, players not getting promotions, players signing contracts, players not signing contracts, players still yet to sign contracts. And we're still waiting on one particular player who there is high interest for. Alexander Isak has been in the headlines, and for all works and purposes, if you're a Geordie, this won't have gone down well. It went down like you'd gone to the shops, you'd picked out your best fruit and veg, and then found that there was something off in the supply. That's how bad it went. And at first you're okay, you kind of go, oh, it's rumour, it's everything else. And then you start to get the thing that, like, everything starts to get, the media hypes around it. And for all of us, anyone who's in the Magpie family, across the globe, are sitting there and going, it's not him. What happened with the Carabao Cup? Because we won that, and that's only recent. So for this to come out of the blue, we're like, what the hell? Genuinely, what the hell? Because he didn't look injured. There was very weird things, because there's all sorts of hype gossip surrounding Isak at the moment. And now from what we know, clearly there was a problem last year. Clearly there was something going on behind the scenes, and it should have been dealt with, and it wasn't. And I think there should be, for me, I think there should be consequence, because if you've got a player of that quality, who put in performance after performance, who has been your top striker for the last season, and he's now been looked at by other clubs going, hang on, if he ever leaves, couldn't we give him something? Couldn't there be a suggestion that we could do something better than what he's getting right now? And also with Isak, he had, obviously during the previous window, he'd had a burglary, he'd been broken into. So that then throws up a whole nother question of, what the hell? That's not going to add to the mindset. Equally, on the same basis, I do want to throw this in. If anyone did that purposefully, knowing that it would cause exactly that thing, that it would do it, and it would cause him to have a meltdown of any kind or description, where are we going in life, globally, on a global basis, if that is the way in which you treat a top player? In Newcastle, there have been changes already. I mean, people have left. People have said, we're not staying because we've got ill health. People have left because things weren't working properly. But then as you hem it out and go, hang on, what did he really want? What was he given? What was the ambition? Every transfer bid that we're putting in, that Newcastle are putting in, simply isn't hitting the mark. We're either going in too low, or it's just, for them, they're just like, well, this isn't the place I wanted to go to. If you want Champions League, which Newcastle United have got, Newcastle United did get Champions League but they got it. They got it by the scruff of their teeth, but they got it. And now it's bringing in those players that are going to strengthen the squad rather than weaken it. And maybe, just maybe, you've got people who are higher than Eddie Howe, who maybe not, have been playing devil's advocate and leaking info. Maybe they leave the club and then start leaking. Even former players, nothing's beyond reasonable reach when you put those things into perspective and balance. However, this Isak story has governed the whole summer window. Every club around the world looking at Isak and going, where are you going to go? Because it defines. Isak came to Newcastle from Sociedad, and in effect he was a relative unknown. He was relatively not known. That how he would progress had nothing on what he'd done before, but he certainly improved under the coaching of Eddie Howe. That can't be denied. I mean, as much as anyone would sit there and go, well, it's not down to him, it's down to talent, it's down to etc. Yeah, but put the two together, and players can be transformed from nothing to an absolute miracle worker to bomb explosion, and Isak does that on the field, guaranteed, alongside his other teammates, to make that magic happen. And when it happens, it brightens up the field. It turns what seems mundane into something you just go, how the hell did you do that? So there's no granting that Isak is a good quality player. However, what I question right now, and I'm asking you, the viewers of social media, is this: that if a player doesn't get contract, or has spoken to individuals regarding his contract, and his contract, individuals say, nah, not it's not for debate. You ain't getting another one. Don't you think that if you value Isak and what he brings to the table, you're going to, in effect, raise it? You're going to raise the bid. It's not like the club is going through everything else that everyone else in the Premier League is. You're down for restrictions on how much you can spend, and if you spend too much, then you are penalised for it. So you are in that there's a very grey area, because certain clubs at the top can spend so much because they've got, there's so much revenue, there's sponsorship, etc. It gets through, and everyone else is going. You're looking at what you've got to deal with and go, how do we work with that? Like, unless we get, because Newcastle have went through a heavy season where they had their first squad out with injury, from the goalkeeper all the way through to their striker, and that was hard. That's a hard thing to deal with when you're having to deal when you've got backup. If you've got a backup that can equally match the first. And don't get me wrong, there are other clubs like you've got the likes of your Liverpool who've got that kind of regime in place, that if one player's sick, they've got another one that can back them up. And that's the kind of rotation and the kind of gravitational pull that Newcastle and other teams in the Premier League need to get if they are to hit anywhere near like the Arsenals, the Liverpools, the Chelseas. They want to get into that area. The only way in which to do that is to be able to have that in equal balance, to have the rotational adjustment and the financial ability to be able to do that. The owners are there. I mean, everyone goes, oh, they've got owners, we've got rich owners, we've got, it's all money, money, money. But not when England then dictate and say, by the way, you're here, and unless it's done above board, we don't tolerate any BS. That's what hits heavier, because where clubs are maybe doing stuff underhand, Newcastle have had to do it above board, because they want to show that they're there for it. They're there for the, to go through this transition of changing. I mean, every Newcastle fan remembers what it was like for 14 years under Mike Ashley. And Mike Ashley stripped the club of finances. He put players into contracts that you looked at and went, why? It was just a most destructive time frame for Newcastle United. They are now kind of trying to transition and transform that and transmute it into something that is positive, rather than turning it to a negative. And that's where I think Isak, with everything else that's going on privately behind the scenes and in front of everything, in front of the world stage, seeing players that get big money per week, which, if I'm really honest, is to get that big amount of money. I'm like, don't get me wrong, we all have our bills to pay, but trust me, that amount of money is great on a whole wide scale, because then other players within your team, when they see you getting a high amount of money, are going to sit there and go, hang on, what about me? There is going to be the comparison made. There are players in that have equally gone into this for the same reason. They want Champions League. They want the competitions. They want to compete. They want to compete at a high level. But you also equally need players that are prepared to work for the shirt, that are prepared to go in and go, I'm here for the shirt, I'm here for the fans, and this is where I stamp my allegiance. And if Isak is having doubts about that, if Isak's having any doubt in his headspace, if the burglar itself took him out and went, not doing this anymore, then I get it. To have your mindset in such a place where you just can't, it's either you can't or you won't. And equally, the management, but the management behind Isak as well, have conversations with him, because clearly there is a conflict somewhere along the line where one has there is info being leaked from the club, and I don't know where that comes from, but clearly it's a problem, and it will continue to be a problem until you get to the grassroots and there's structures in place at Newcastle. Because at the moment, over this summer, has been one of those weekends where you just sit there and go, let me stick myself underneath a duvet, let me stick myself into my peaceful era, and not come out. Because every target they've gone after, every single bid that they've gone for has literally fallen flat. Or you've had other clubs come in and pull the rug from underneath Newcastle's feet, going, not on our watch, you don't. This is how you do it. And it's almost been like Newcastle have been taught the ropes by the clubs like Man City's, who have already gone through and have been taking, in effect, they're taking not just the FA, but they're taking UEFA to court and saying, look, the way these structures are, it isn't healthy for anybody. It doesn't help bring in growth. You're trying to restrict growth, but you're not trying to help it. There can be a balance made, but legally speaking, it has to change on a whole global scale, because the amounts that these players are asking for. The rumours went from 150 for Isak alone. It was like 150 to there was one bid. There was rumours flying around about Liverpool putting in bids for 300 million, and I was like, that's crazy amounts of money for one player. But clearly, you've got the likes of Liverpool who are able to do that, who've got the funds and are able to do it without, albeit Liverpool are still in that position where they're saying we're still working with PIF and PSR. We still have those restrictions. If we go over a certain amount, we're in deepest poo land as well. So it isn't easy for any of the top ones. As much as fans, there was a lot of debate going on in different forums. When you support a side and you go into supporters' chat rooms and see everyone talking and discussing it, things will get heated. And it is a hot topic, certainly at Newcastle, certainly when you're hearing the media getting repeated vomit, uncomfortable as that sounds, repeated, like regurgitated reports. The reports that you see in the media get repeated, regurgitated, and then they put other couple of words in to make it sound like it's a new thing. And you're like, hang on. In the last week, there were 3 reports that came out, and all 3 of them were the same thing, but put on different days, just with one thing completely slipped. So one would slip in, Isak had an injury. We now know he doesn't have an injury. You know, it was more precaution than anything else, because clearly he was looking after his own physical and mental health. Then you had other rumours. Then you've got fans piling on the pressure to go. I mean, everybody's got an opinion. Everybody wants to be, you know, the one with the big scope about how Isak is going to come through this. If he's able to come through it, personally for me, if he wants to go, let him go. Just don't sell him. Just don't sell him on the cheap, because we bought him in for quite a substantial amount. You don't go low. You don't put in low bids of 60 million and then go, by the way, nah. So where Isak's concerned, he's got high value, but we also need to put clauses into the contract as we release him that, should that be activated, that certain clubs don't use and abuse the things they're given. Like, we may give you Isak, but you are not getting this because of how you are, you know. There's a fine balance and a fine line that needs to be. Any clauses that need to be put in. I mean, I'm sure that the legal team will be all over it like hot sauce. And that is probably where Isak fell through the cracks. We had a lovely lady who Amanda Staveley, who helped with contracts, who helped like new player when players signed from different clubs. She was the one that would orchestrate it and support it and bring it through. We don't as such have that at Newcastle. We have people that are associated with the head coach, and I'm not going to go into that, but it doesn't feel like it's working. It kind of feels like you can't really work with family members. It doesn't always function. You need to be able to keep this business-like, rather than going, I own the world and I can do what I want. There's a time and a place for that. So with all that, with all I can call it is Isak Gate, and it's probably exactly what I'll probably name the video, Isak Gate. Hashtag, it's still going on. The moment we get any more details about how his future will be, I mean, will it be at Newcastle, or will, as much, and don't get me wrong, before I add this, there are loads and loads of Liverpool fans who are quite I'm trying to push the agenda for Isak to go to them. He may not want to go there. I mean, at the end of the day, this player also has the right for him to sit back and go, actually, you know what? I need to keep away from social media. Close up. If he didn't go on social media, it's a good thing, because clearly on social media there is a full force agenda of Isak to go to Liverpool, and quite frankly, there are other clubs other than every player in the Premier League is replaceable. Every person in any team position is always replaceable. So for the idea for anyone to sit there and go, oh no, we can't live without him, we can't do without him, yes you can. We were without him before, and at some point we'll be without Isak again. For me, as a supporter, it doesn't bother me if Isak leaves, so be it. He goes, and I don't wish him any bad ill will. I don't wish him bad intent. However, if he knew before, like during the Carabao Cup period, that he was unhappy, and fans themselves, I mean, normally this is a club where transparency is huge, especially after what I've mentioned with Ashley. He wasn't transparent in any way. He did deals that were dodgy as hell, and we're still feeling echoes we're feeling echoes of that in, even into this day, where, I mean, when we brought out a shirt, when we won the Carabao Cup, he wanted to put his stamp mark on it. I was like, hang on, you didn't do any of this. We did. It had nothing to do with you. Your legacy died the minute you walked out. Gone. This is a new era, a new period of time to transform and take the club in a different direction. And now with the new signing that we've now got, Elanga, watching him in Asia, once this club gets all solidified and they know their game plan for the season, that side is going to be it's going to be on fire. Putting those balls through, transitioning them, the changeovers, the flips, everything is starting to so line up for this squad, and I just hope that continues regardless of the circle of fire going on around Isak at the moment. And currently there is quite a lot of fire going on around him. So for that's everything I've got on it at the moment. Fans will get in my face. Some probably will say, well, you didn't say that before. Yeah, for me, Isak, like any team member, is replaceable. And we have to get used to this idea that stars don't... it's like when Liverpool eventually sell Salah, they will sell him at some point. Because once he doesn't do the job for them, then they're going to want rotate. They're going to want difference. They're going to change that squad up. Loads of players. This year has been one of those weird windows. And in regards to Diego Jota, and I'm going to have no disrespect on that either. No one should go out like that, ever. That's not the way. That's not ever the way to go out. So, as a Magpie, I hold full respect for the number 20 shirt. And it's respect. And he as a person is respected. He can't, he's passed away with his brother. Two from the same family. He was also a very good player for Liverpool. So Liverpool thought the world of him, clearly, to put him in that position for him to be able to support. But this transfer window has it made clubs like Liverpool, like Chelsea, demand or get on their ball game and go, we have to get this area of our squad sorted out, because by the time the window shuts and finishes, we have all these games that are going to lead into Liverpool and Newcastle. Both have got Champions League, and at some point they might face each other at some point during that Champions League period. Who knows? And we will see. If Isak's there, he's there, and for me, it's no big deal. If he isn't, again, no big deal. But something at Newcastle has to change. It has to change to ensure that players' rights have to be respected and they have to be dignified. And if contracts aren't being honoured when they should be, can you really say that a player like any player, whether it's Salah, Isak, even the best ones going all the way back to the 80s and 90s, you've got the likes of Shearer, would have changed his contract at some point and gone, do you know what, this has got to change because I don't like that. But every era is different, and it's going to change, and it's going to evolve, which is probably exactly where this time frame is for now. I will leave you with that, because that's so much to digest in one video. I hope you have a good day. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you on the next one. For now, ta-ra.